Did you know a quiet farmer became the most feared killer in military history? When the Soviet Union invaded Finland in 1939, Simo Häyhä volunteered to defend his homeland. He was just a simple man from Rautjärvi, but the frozen wilderness would become his hunting ground. They called him the White Death. For 100 days, he lay motionless in minus 40-degree temperatures, buried in snow for hours. He refused to use scopes because the reflection would give him away. Instead, he packed snow in his mouth to hide his breath and used iron sights only. The Soviets were terrified. 505 confirmed kills with a single rifle. They sent counter-snipers, artillery strikes, even air raids targeting his positions. Nothing worked. He seemed to disappear into the winter itself. On March 6, 1940, a Soviet sniper finally hit him with an explosive bullet to the face. Half his jaw was destroyed, but he survived. When asked years later how he became so deadly, he simply said practice. Did you know one man turned Australia's beautiful wilderness into a hunting ground for innocent travelers? In the early 1990s, backpackers from around the world flocked to Australia, hitchhiking between cities as part of the adventure. They trusted locals for rides, never suspecting the danger lurking on remote highways. Ivan Mila knew exactly how to exploit this trust. He would cruise the roads near Sydney, offering rides to young international travelers heading south. His targets were always the same: vulnerable backpackers traveling alone or in pairs. Once in his car, there was no escape. Mila knew every hidden trail in Belanglo State Forest, every spot where screams couldn't be heard. He would take them deep into the wilderness, then hunt them like animals. Using guns and knives, he turned their dream trips into nightmares. When police finally found 7 bodies buried in shallow graves, the forensic evidence was horrifying. One predator had weaponized an entire forest, destroying Australia's reputation as a safe haven for young travelers forever. Did you know Britain's most trusted family doctor was secretly the world's most prolific serial killer? Dr. Harold Shipman seemed like the perfect physician. Kind, caring, always making house calls to check on his elderly patients. But in 1998, police received a routine complaint about a suspicious death. An old woman had died minutes after Shipman's visit, leaving everything to him in her will. Detective Bernard Postal started digging deeper and found a terrifying pattern: patient after patient dying shortly after the good doctor's house calls. All elderly, all alone, all trusting him completely. Shipman would inject lethal doses of heroin, then calmly sign their death certificates himself. No questions asked, no investigations, just a trusted doctor doing his job. For 23 years, he targeted isolated women, gained their trust, then killed them when he needed money. The final count was staggering: over 250 murders. He killed more people than most natural disasters, all while everyone called him their beloved family doctor. Did you know the world's most famous painting simply vanished from the Louvre in 1911, launching history's greatest art theft mystery? Vincenzo Peruggia was just a humble Italian handyman doing museum maintenance, but he had access to the most valuable artwork on Earth. For 18 months, he studied security routines, planning the perfect crime. He discovered the Mona Lisa's only vulnerable moment during weekly cleaning. On August 21, 1911, he waited until the museum closed. Then he simply lifted the painting off its hooks, removed it from the frame, and walked out with it hidden under his work coat. For 2 years, the Mona Lisa lived in his cramped Paris apartment while the world mourned its loss. Police even interrogated Pablo Picasso as a suspect. Peruggia believed he was patriotically returning the painting to Italy. When he tried selling it to a Florence art dealer, the dealer called authorities instead. He was arrested immediately. The painting returned triumphantly to the Louvre, but the theft had made it world famous. Sometimes the greatest crimes create their own legends. Did you know a police officer terrorized California for 40 years, and nobody suspected the man sworn to protect them? In the 1970s, quiet suburban neighborhoods trusted their local cops completely. Joseph James D'Angelo was one of those officers, patrolling the streets with a badge and gun. But at night, he became something else entirely. He would break into homes, separate couples, and commit unspeakable crimes across the state. His police training gave him every advantage. He knew how investigations worked, how to avoid evidence, how to disappear. For decades, he escalated from burglary to rape to murder, always staying one step ahead. Families lived in terror of the Golden State Killer, never knowing their protector was their predator. Then in 2018, genetic genealogy finally caught him. The monster had been hiding in plain sight for 4 decades. A grandfather, a former cop, the last person anyone would suspect. The ultimate betrayal of public trust had finally been exposed. Did you know America's first serial killer turned a hotel into an industrial murder machine? In 1893, Chicago was buzzing with World's Fair, visitors looking for luxury accommodations. Herman Webster Mudgett, calling himself H.H. Holmes, saw an opportunity. He built what appeared to be an elegant three-story hotel just blocks from the fairgrounds. But behind the fancy facade, Holmes was creating something horrifying. He designed soundproof rooms with gas pipes hidden in the walls. The basement contained a crematorium and acid vats disguised as normal hotel equipment. Guests checked in expecting comfort, but Holmes had other plans. He would gas visitors in their sleep, then dispose of the bodies downstairs. Over 200 people vanished in his murder castle. Holmes also stole their identities for elaborate insurance fraud schemes. When police finally searched the building, they found bone fragments and personal belongings stuffed inside the walls. Holmes had turned architecture itself into a weapon, industrializing murder on an unprecedented scale. Did you know the greatest art heist in history started with two fake cops at a museum door? At 1:24 in the morning on March 17, 1990, security guards at Boston's Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heard a knock. Two men in police uniforms claimed they were investigating a disturbance. The confused guards opened the door and let them inside. Big mistake. These weren't cops at all. Within minutes, the guards found themselves handcuffed to pipes in the basement. For 81 minutes, the thieves calmly walked through the museum, selecting 13 specific artworks. They cut priceless Vermeers and Rembrandts right out of their frames, ignoring even more valuable pieces just feet away. These weren't random thieves. They knew exactly what they wanted and where the security cameras couldn't see them. Then they simply walked out with $500 million worth of art. 30 years later, despite a $10 million reward, not a single painting has been recovered. The thieves remain completely unknown. Did you know Europe's biggest money laundering scheme was hidden behind Milan's most glamorous fashion shows? In 2019, police arrested Gennaro Mokbel outside a luxury boutique during Milan Fashion Week. What they discovered shocked the fashion world. The 'Ndrangheta Mafia had secretly bought legitimate fashion houses across the city's most exclusive district. For years, they used fake invoices and phantom sales to wash 2 billion euros in cocaine money. Criminal accountants created bogus textile companies and staged elaborate fashion shows with real models. The runway stars had no idea they were part of Europe's largest money laundering operation. Designer handbag sales that never happened moved millions through the Aosta books. Bribes kept tax officials looking the other way while astronomical fake revenues poured in. During Fashion Week 2019, police raided 15 boutiques simultaneously. Hidden ledgers revealed the shocking truth about who really owned these brands. Major fashion houses had unknowingly become fronts for organized crime. The final seizure? 1.3 billion euros in assets. Milan's glittering facade had concealed the mafia's dirtiest secret. Did you know one of America's most notorious serial killers used severed heads as dinner companions? Edmund Kemper, the 6'9" co-ed killer, had a genius-level IQ and a horrifying ritual. After decapitating his victims, he would place their heads on his kitchen table during meals. He treated them like house guests, asking about their day and carrying on full conversations. Kemper would respond as if the heads were talking back, creating elaborate dialogues that lasted hours. For days at a time, he kept these gruesome trophies in his apartment, while his mother lived in the same building. The towering killer saw these one-sided conversations as the perfect relationship. His victims could never reject him or abandon him like his abusive mother had done throughout his childhood. Eventually, Kemper walked into a police station and turned himself in. He told officers he was simply tired of killing. Psychiatrists later discovered his twisted dinner conversations were all about maintaining complete control. Finally, he had found companions who would never leave him. Did you know a family man murdered his entire family and vanished without a trace for over a decade? On April 21, 2011, French police discovered 5 bodies buried in the backyard of a home in Nantes. The victims were Agnès Dupont de Ligonnès and her 4 children, all shot with a .22 rifle. But the father, Xavier, was nowhere to be found. Neighbors said he told them the family was moving to America for his new job. What police found was far more sinister. Xavier had been planning for months, selling possessions, canceling subscriptions, and researching how to dispose of bodies online. The victims were buried under lime to speed up decomposition. Even more chilling, after the murders, Xavier continued his normal routine for days. He attended school meetings and dinner parties while his family lay dead beneath the soil. Security cameras captured him checking into a hotel 400 miles away. Then he disappeared completely. 13 years later, despite sightings across 3 continents, Xavier Dupont de Ligonnès remains one of the world's most wanted fugitives.